What's up, guys? It's Mrjamvad, and today we are back on another episode of On the Contrary. And I know you guys are used to me being with Joey because this is pretty much our podcast together. But today I'm gonna put a different spin to things, as I'm not only not going to be doing Sword and Shield, I almost said Sun and Moon there, but I'm also gonna be bringing on the old gen master himself, the one and only, the Smogon legend BKC. And we're gonna be discussing everything. We're just gonna see how this goes. It's a little bit of everything, but I think it'll be very valuable, so stay tuned. And BKC, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? Like Jamvad said, we are going to be talking about absolutely everything, so we might go over the limit of whatever platform you're using to listen to this, but stay tuned.
We've had easily nearly 3 hours. People love long form, so they love to put this in the background. So if you're washing dishes or something, this is gonna be that kind of thing.
Oh, so that's roughly half the length of my average laddering video, I see.
Oh yeah, nearly. Not quite half, but we're getting there. But we were actually just having a discussion a little before this, and we were just touching on the distinction between, I guess we could call it, needing to predict versus over predicting. But before that, just in case they don't know who you are, can you kind of give them a brief kind of introduction as far as why BKC is the Smogon legend?
Oh, sure. Oh, I get to talk about how great I am. That's great.
Yep.
Well, I've been playing for 11 years now. And in terms of Smogon, then I've left a mark on a lot of different generations of OU, primarily 3 through 5, but also Gen 2, and even Gen 6, and even a little bit of Gen 7, although that one, most people don't remember. But yeah, for the most part, I've had a part in shaping a lot of aspects of several OU metagames. And I've had a lot of tournament success, winning a lot of World Cups with Team East, helping all my teammates with their teams. I'm known for making a lot of teams. And, I've won some stuff on my own, a couple Smogon Tours and a lot of other tournaments. So while a lot of newer players, see me as some old guy who just sticks around in the old gens and doesn't know anything anymore, then, I have still done a lot. I remember, now when people go, oh, black and white, DPP, those gens are super old. I remember when those gens were just OU.
Right.
And, I was participating in them actively. So, I've seen this pattern come and go with a lot of people. Then the XY guys come around, and now, a lot of players from XY and Oris, now they stick in that gen. Now it's an old gen, but at the time they were also new up-and-comers,
right,
and current gen guys. So I was once just like that. It just happened to be a longer time ago.
Right. No, for sure. I think if I wasn't even a content creator, perhaps I wouldn't be as up to date with the gens. I sometimes forget that aspect, and my viewers actually play on the ladder frequently, whereas I just play on the ladder when I'm recording. And so they have a very different perspective of what a metagame is than I, because they're like, well, Cinderace is giving me problems, man, ban it. Whereas I play 2 Cinderaces a day, beat them, and go away. They're losing to Cinderace, 10 games a day. So I can understand why it would be very frustrating, and it's a different perspective.
That. I was playing Sword and Shield recently just because I wanted to qualify for the Mrjamvad test.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I'd never touched Sword and Shield before. I touched it at the beginning of the generation.
Dynamax.
I'll be honest, just to get views. I really didn't have any interest in the generation outside of that.
Yeah.
I thought, Galarian, Darmanitan and stuff, it was fun, but...
Yeah.
Once the initial hype died down, I was like, all right, I'm glad to get out of this. But yeah, I was like, suspect tests. I used to do those in my day in black and white when we had a million things that needed banning. And I was like, all right, let's do this Mrjamvad thing, and it was fun. And I played Cinderace. I was like, oh my god, this thing is really dumb. Without going into a tangent, I do have some Sword and Shield experience now. Cinderace was really dumb because there's basically nothing that outspeeds it, so you have to go defensive against it. It's a similar reason to why in earlier gens, then stuff like XY or Oris Greninja was really dumb. or Sandrush Excadrill in Black and White.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have to go defensive against a Pokemon, you can't realistically out-offense it, then that's always a problem. It skews team building, especially because Cinderace can just U-turn out of those checks, and you know, in comes a big fat Specs Magearna ready to blow something away, or so.
What an interesting.
Or even
time.
if it's even if it's not Magearna, then it's something else like Specs Analytic Magnezone, so or CB Rillaboom, and you know, just keeps going over and over and over. So I really don't think Cinderace was healthy, and I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah. Healthy.
And I'm also glad it's going to be retested.
After.
I'm glad it's going to be retested because that means more views. Because I can make another video about it.
I mean, but I think you still, you know, the dope thing about having a niche is that, you know, you're the go-to guy for that. And so I don't think you'd ever struggle for that because you'd be surprised. There are quite a bit of people in my Discord that constantly lean back to the old gens, which is kind of cool because, you know, back when old gens, as you said, 4th gen, when I came in, I technically came in the like transition from Gen 4 to Gen 5. So it may have just like 2010. So like Gen 5 just kind of came out, but Gen 4 was still like
booming.
Yeah. You remember all the battles used to be on Wi-Fi, and so you'd go like you go on the Wi-Fi. Were you familiar with the Smogon Wi-Fi battle finder? I don't know if you ever like played that.
I think that was a little bit after Gen 5 came out, which was when I was less into the Wi-Fi battles.
Okay.
When I was still Wi-Fi battling on Smogon, then it was you posted in one of those threads, like looking for OU, UU Ubers,
right.
Here's my FC, and someone responds. And then the Wi-Fi battle finder, which I think Joey got implemented, was that was a great addition, but I was never really
into
I didn't make use of it. Yeah. Because once Black and White came out, then I shifted more and more into the tournament scene, so more and more in the simulators, which at the time was Pokemon Online, which I miss dearly. Even though, you know, it can't hold a candle to Showdown. Showdown has spoiled us so much because I recently did some Wi-Fi battles again just for fun, because it really does help you just enjoy the game for the game, whereas, you know, even when you're casually laddering on Showdown, you get angry and you start, you know, hating your opponent and stuff. But then you get it back on Wi-Fi and you really have to pay attention. There's not a battle log. You can't cancel your moves.
Right.
You can't calc with ultimate precision. It's just you can't count. You don't have the
Showdown takes the art out of it.
Yeah, you can't instantly look at how much PP your opponent has. You can't count rain turns or trick room turns or whatever. You have to like really be on top of it. You don't even see life orb damage because it doesn't show up in text. You have to watch your opponent's HP go down when they attack. So. That's stuff like that.
There's an art to this game that I think, you know, Showdown leans more to the, I guess, the science part, where you see every number, you know, you literally, there's no way you can't know what you want to know on Showdown the way they're set it up. Like even that team preview on Wi-Fi, your Shifu doesn't show which one it is. Like it literally just shows like a random silhouette. Whereas, you know how Showdown set it up, it looks like your Shifu dark. I mean, sometimes it's not, but like at the very least, you get to see that up front rather than kind of guessing which one it is.
Yeah, that's weird. Isn't that like a wrong mechanic? Because that would be the equivalent of showing which kind of Arceus form your opponent has, which Showdown has correct. It just shows a base Arceus, and then once it actually switches in, then you see it's Ghost, Normal, whatever.
Right.
But without so that seems like a wrongly implemented mechanic. I mean, not that I know anything. I don't even have a Switch, so I haven't touched Sword and Shield in game. But that's.
It can't really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
The issue with it can't really be fixed. I don't want to go too much on a tangent with this because that's not how it shows up. When you remember back in the day when you look at your team, they're just little like chibis, like
sprites. Yeah.
Right. Showdown doesn't do that with their team preview. They show the entire mon, and so that's one of those rare cases where it's like, you know, we kind of have to just put the one that it's likely going to be, and then it is what it is, and you just try to not assume that it's dark all the time, though I still make that mistake.
Yeah. Another thing that this old man can't keep up with. It's like, well, the new Pokemon has 2 forms. And back in my day, Rotom had 1 million forms, but they were all the same type.
Right.
And when Black and White came out and changed that, I was like, what? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Black and White coming up,
Which
or
is
coming
nuts.
out.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. With 2010, that's what makes me aware of it, because that's when I joined.
I remember those days very clearly. I remember all the changes.
Yeah.
Like whenever people, that same change that I first experienced then, I see repeat itself with every new generation. People use the standards of the old metagame to predict what's going to happen in the new metagame.
And then
completely. And then of course it completely shifts, but it's always nice to see that happen over and over. And like I remember Black and White came out and suddenly life orb damage triggered when you hit a sub. I hated that mechanic. I was so angry.
Wait, what?
I mean,
say that again?
When Gen 5 came out, then it added the mechanic of life orb triggering when you hit a sub.
That wasn't the case in Gen 4?
No, it wasn't. I was so mad when I saw that. I was like, that's so dumb. Now you can just sub-stall life orb.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? So
that's interesting. It's always fascinating to see the changes, because when you come into it, you either forget that was a mechanic, like perma rain or perma weather period, or you just like if a lot of my listeners right now likely joined in X and Y or something, so they're like, what? I never knew that was a. I'm like, yeah, like even in ADV, there was a period where I was I was like the I just was not losing when it came. This was like when I was heavy in the tournament scene in ORAS, around that area. And so I was like, well, what else can I play? And then I kind of got into ADV, and I remember challenging you randomly. I was like, who's the best at ADV? And I would play I don't remember, I think it was Joey a bunch of times. I'd play somebody in ADV who used to play, and I was like, it's time to go. And I'd hop in ADV, and I held my own. Like, I think I may have taken a game off you, but ended up losing, I think, the best of 3. But it was just, you just wanted the thirst of a challenge, which at the time I wasn't getting in ORAS. But yeah, like you were saying with the old gen mechanics and whatnot.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the reasons why the old gens are so welcoming, well, in addition to the fact that you no longer have an expiration date on when you can play, because what happens when the new generation comes out? Are you just going to constantly move on to the next one and forget all the fun you had? I could never do that. Even back then when Black and White was coming out, I was like, no, I want to play 4th gen forever. And in that regard, I haven't changed. But yeah, part of the reason why old gens are so welcoming is because they're very established, whereas the new gen is always very feels a lot more chaotic. And some people make sense out of the chaos, but I prefer my settled metagames. Because it requires a lot of time to keep up with the current
I feel you.
with the current Gen OU. Because I used to do that in Black and White, easily, when I was a teenager, and I was like, how do these older guys not know that this is the most commonly used fortress spread? And then now I realize, those guys were like, how old I am now. No wonder they didn't know that HP Ice Fortress was taking over. They don't have the time to invest.
Right.
So, yeah, it could be done if you really want to. Like, we had a guy, Loki, come back recently, who was a legend in Gens 3 and 4, hasn't played in 10 years, comes back, he invests time in Sword and Shield. Yeah, he hasn't played in 10 years. And he came back, started getting his Sword and Shield, both OU and UU, and he was killing it. So, it shows that the skill usually doesn't leave. It's just the time investment. But yeah, another reason why the old gens are so welcoming is because a lot of them are, calm, so you don't have to invest a ton of time into learning them. I mean, yeah, you're not going to become good overnight. That's obviously, that would be really stupid if that were the case, because why would you ever bother playing or getting better? But what's nice is that they're not so, crazy that you can't just get into them. Like, if you are good at Pokemon, you are probably going to be pretty good to start with at Advance.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, that's what my experience
that's one of the nice thing about them. Yeah, that's why Advance is such a popular metagame, because DPP is hard because there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you're not really on top of it, and GSD can be kind of a slog or the opposite, with stuff booming everywhere. Yeah, I love GSC, but I can see why it's not everyone's cup of tea. But Advance is possibly the most appealing, accessible generation, because you need to be good to actually succeed in it, but it's not like super foreboding. It's very welcoming.
I don't know what it is about it, dude. It's super, like, there's just a charisma about ADV
Yeah.
that,
I mean, part of it is like, I don't know, the color schemes, which I really do think plays a part. Like, pretty teams really do seem to function better. But, and I think that, all the menses and metagross, and you remember when you play the Gen 3 games, and that helps. But I also think that the balance of everything is really nice. Like, stall, or, defensive teams, they're good, but not unwallable. So there's not, like, regenerator and stuff. And there's, unlike GSC, then there's plenty of offense. I mean, you got choice band, fully powered explosions.
Oh, man.
Dragon
Metagross.
Dance.
Like T-Tar, T-Tar, Mens.
Metagross itself is just crazy. So you have a lot of offense, but not like crazy offense. Like, there's no equivalent to, say, Choice Specs Draco Meteor.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a explosion where you kind of have to lose a mind, but it is what
That's
it is.
the thing. Yeah, all the power comes with a significant drawback. Like, explosion is the strongest thing, and it KOs everything, but it also makes you faint. So with Draco Meteor, you just
come back,
switch in, Draco something, switch out, come back, and do it again. So. Yeah.
Nah, that you're absolutely right, and
it's also.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The thing you mentioned about going back, with the mechanics and how you have this weird feeling.
Yeah.
When you go back into a gen, you take some mechanic for granted, and then when you get into an earlier gen, then you're just like, oh my god, this is so weird. And for example, I started in Gen 4. And I played the Gen 3 games in-game enough to, be familiar with the basic idea. Like stuff like the turn ends as soon as something dies. So if you explode, you prevent your opponent from moving. I knew stuff like that. I knew leftovers worked after the turn, so you could switch in after Pokemon Bandit for extra leftovers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh,
and other than that, it's mostly similar to the later gens. But like stuff like GSC and RBY are like completely foreign. So those, like, you really have to get in there and learn. And I say that was only like 2 generations, which are still fairly similar all in all, but they are still pretty foreign from Gen 3 and up, which holds a lot of similarities to even the most current gen. And then I think about it for players who are newer than I am, and I think, oh my god, it must be so weird for them. Like, take someone who joined in Gen 6. Suddenly knockoff isn't ridiculous.
Right.
Steel actually resists Dark and Ghost.
Right.
And
that was a huge shit. Ferrothorn used to be that guy, like Aegis Slash. Imagine Aegis. I always thought about this. Imagine Aegis Slash.
Aegis Slash in the old generations would have been so absurdly broken, it would have toppled Ubers. It wouldn't have even been funny.
Resist, because it would be neutral to. Its only weakness would be the fire and ground, I think. Yeah.
Like, so that would be so crazy. It was funny because during Gen 5, people were like, "Ugh, where's my Steel Ghost type?" And Aegis Slash comes out, and they're like, "I'm just kidding, ban it, please."
Yeah. And that was it was more powerful than it is now. I don't know if you know, but they even nerfed it.
They nerfed its stats. Yeah, I learned that at the beginning of the generation. Yeah, but now isn't it like UU or something?
No, it's not. That was more of like, how things are when things are trendy. Aegis Slash is still amazing, but it's just not trendy. Yeah,
people. That's actually a good point, because in old gens, people go, people aren't really using this Pokemon, and I'm like, I don't know if that's really accurate. Or when people try to make viability equate to usage, I really dislike that, because it's like, this Pokemon is really, really good, and it doesn't mean that it has to be used on every single team for that to be the case. So, yeah.
No, 100%.
The final mechanics thing that I think is just absolutely bizarre. Imagine you start off with any generation with Team Preview, and you go back to the generations without it. That's just the ultimate, oh my god, how do they even play with this?
Right.
And again, that's another reason why the old gens are welcoming, because even though there's no Team Preview, the power level is generally manageable enough to where
you can,
things aren't just dying. So it's not going to really bite you. You have time to breathe. Whereas with I think Team Preview came in at just the right time. I can't even begin to imagine Gen 5 and up without it.
Right.
But
especially because I think Zoroark came out that gen too, which would have been
they did it just for Zoroark, and I'm glad they made Zoroark when they did, because otherwise
that'd be so dumb. Right. Imagine those. Cause Zora gets a lot of like nifty stuff. So imagine those Azelfleas, all those like all. Cause I remember. I'm trying to remember the fourth gen. Cause again, I did play some of that. Like that was my main gen, and my logic at 15, 14, 15 was Pokemon is supposed. Cause I'm coming up from even going from Gen 3 to Gen 4 was a transition for me because the graphics were a little too. I'm like, and so I'm used to those simple Salamence, Rayquaza cries, just the charm that Gen 3 had. And I started in Gen 3, so I think I definitely have like a bias to it. And I don't know if that plays into why I gravitate towards ADV. All my favorite mons are in Gen 3. That's a thing. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try this Gen 4 thing. All right. It's all right. You know, I gave it some time. Okay. But what I wasn't about to do is play this Gen 5 shit with me and Shao. And why do they Pokemon aren't supposed to look real? Like, what? And so
You must have been crushed when XY came out and everything was in super 3D.
Well, at that point, I had grown up, let's say. So I was heavily competitive at that point. But I remember, man, and I really always laugh about this. So when I got into Pokemon, I'm from Jamaica, right? And so when I got into Pokemon, you know, there's not like Wi-Fi around and quick access like there is today. And so we used our Game Boy Advances with the
link cable.
Yeah, with the link cable, but the ones with the
I
batteries.
remember that, yeah.
Some had the SP,
yeah.
some had the ones with the batteries, and I'd pop in my Emerald. And I remember back then we didn't believe in anything that wasn't an attack. And so...
Yeah, of course. Why would you?
Stealth rocks. I'm like, what are you doing? Wasting a turn. And we always playing double battles. We never playing... But it wouldn't be like VGC, but it would always be a double battle.
6-on-6, yeah.
Right. And all legendaries, everything is free. Like, if you have your Kyogre on the field, you better watch out. And so... And remembering that and transitioning to the U.S., I'm like, okay, well, I have access to the internet, and I stumbled on a guy named the Killer Nacho on YouTube. I'm like, what the fuck? And that's what I introduced to Gen 4, because I'm like, well, I have to play Gen 4 in order to play online, and I had to play online. I'm about to beat everybody from around the world because I no longer have my friends from Jamaica to play with. And so... Fast forward, I got my hand on, I think, Soul Silver. Played it like I loved breeding eggs. Such a simple time, you know, just nothing to do. You're a kid.
Don't remind me, please.
Like, I know. We're going to hop in. We're going to mess with a couple of viewers' feelings right now. We're going to have somebody playing some ROM hacks. But, like, you know, riding your bike and hatching eggs and waiting for the right nature. There's just a charm to this that... You know, looking now, we're like scientists about it, and I do think that when you get deep into competitive, you sometimes lose you have to remind yourself, and I've been saying this to my audience a lot lately. Like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, we're all competitive. We hop on the ladder. You know, you want to beat your opponent. Hack sucks, but at the end of the day, the initial reason we played this game was because it was a good time, and so just kind of reminding yourself not to always be in that go get it mode to where you're. The game is a means to an end. You know what I mean? And
I had this experience, this exact experience actually, because for years and years I've been just grinding tournament after tournament and, you know, going as intense as possible. And like if I ever had like a funny idea for a team, like I don't know, something dumb like Wish Executor, I put it in my team builder. And then a couple days later I'm like, that's not going to help you win that big OU tournament. What are you doing?
Right.
And you know, then eventually this past around spring, then I was just having, one miserable tournament experience after another because I felt, I knew I had to constantly be building new teams because people went out of their way to counter team me.
Your usual
style. It's fine, but it's taxing. It's time commitment and all that.
Right.
And plus, it's not easy to build great teams, which is why it's so frustrating that you can use them so little sometimes. But yeah, I was just getting that, and then I was playing really, really carefully, and then hacks took over. And these days I'm good about knowing when I lost because of hacks and when I lost because I should have been playing better even though I got hacks.
Right.
But it was just unforgivably dumb stuff like. My opponent switched in Reuniclus, whose leftovers he absolutely needed, into my Ferrothorn, and I was like, okay, if I knock it off, that doesn't end the game, but it really makes it like a cinch. And he just crits Focus Blast. And then I think I still had a chance, and then something else dumb happened. And stuff like that was happening every single series, and I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It's just not fun. And then I got into like playing just for fun, like I mean really just for fun.
Right.
And that's why I started taking up Wi-Fi battles again. I was like, oh my god, I can actually enjoy myself again, because it's just not worth the stress of the tournaments. What more do I have to prove? Like people sometimes give Blue a hard time for like, why you didn't have to prove anything? Why did you pull all that style stuff? And while obviously I don't condone it, I really get it. I really, truly understand.
Where you don't want to be the top player. Everybody expects Blue to win, kind of.
It's that, and you constantly feel like there's got to be more. Like, no one would ever say, oh, Blue hasn't done enough. But that didn't stop Blue from feeling like, yeah, I gotta beat everyone. My mindset for some time was to be objectively the correct answer to the best player ever,
right.
Which is an astronomically stupid goal, because even if I did, then first of all, that wouldn't change what people actually think, because
right.
I think people judge players in not the greatest way a lot,
right.
But even then people are still going to have their preferences, and there's always going to be some reason. It's like, oh, you did it in a bunch of old gens instead of constant current gen. So anyone who doesn't really like your style is always going to have some reason. So they don't care about it being objective. And the more important reason overall, of course, is that really your goal? Why? I mean, sure, it's nice. I won't lie. It does feel good when people say, "Oh, PKC is the best singles player ever." Yeah, of course I'd like that. Who wouldn't? But when you make that the goal instead of enjoying yourself, it's just really, really, really not fun. It's a drag. It's a chore. I was dreading. It got so bad that on days I had tournament games, I felt like I couldn't enjoy myself until I got them over with. Like I couldn't watch a movie or anything, or anything else that I would like to do.
100%.
And it was awful, because I wasn't like, oh boy, I'll watch a movie and then I'll play my tournament game.
No,
Gee, I'm really excited for it.
You want your mind to be in a zen state.
Not even that, but I feel I felt like it would pervade my thoughts at all hours of the day, and I would dread it. I would want it over with. And it's not even like you could play early in the morning, because I'm usually in Europe, and when you're European time, you're going to have a lot of American opponents, and that means you're going to have to play in the evening. So the entire day you're just thinking, oh man, I got that game at 9 p.m. I really got to win that, or else everyone's going to think I'm a loser. And I know how irrational it is, but it just was not.
It's not
enjoyable.
It's not, dude. And I kind of that particular.
So I know I made the right choice in taking a step back and just
doing
what I know enjoys. Yeah,
dude. Like whatever you think is right.
It was really not worth it. Like I've been playing Advanced UU. It's a blast. No one's gonna go. You know what really made BKC a great player? That time he played Advanced UU, and it's fine. It's such a fun tier. And I like making the YouTube stuff and all that. And the nice thing is that I can always go back to playing tournaments and, going hardcore and doing the scientist thing, like you said, but I can also just not. For a long time I thought, no, I gotta get that next trophy. I gotta, win this, that, and the other thing. And then I was like, or you could just, not. You can save yourself the aggravation. It's clearly not fun. If it is fun, sure, go back to it. But if you're regretting it, then, absolutely not. And it's really hard to break out of that mindset. It's kind of like when you're having a bad day on ladder and you're tilting, and obviously the right move is just to stop and start again later, but you just keep thinking you got to dig in harder and keep going over and over and over, and obviously that just makes it worse. And it was similar here, because I was just like, no, I can't, relax and have fun yet. I got to win this tournament before I do. And if you know anything about Pokemon, you know that winning a tournament at will is, while not impossible, not something you should count on. So, I was just sick of having to constantly wait until I could just, take things easy again. So, yeah, now I'm just doing stuff that I actually enjoy. And Yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying that I'm having fun with the game instead of going, well, I gotta be optimal. You know how much dumb stuff there is in my team builder right now? For example, I have a team in Gen 4 NU with Wish Flareon and Wish Executor. Gen 4 NU is not going to bring me any glory, and I don't think that combination is even particularly good in the tier, but I love the move Wish, and I love Flareon, and I think Executor is pretty cool, and I think Wish on both of them is really cool, so that's my team.
Right.
And
I think
all that really matters.
I mean, that's the genesis of the Hita Fajita, like, era. I mean, at a certain point, once you've hit a certain level, you need more. That's actually when I record, I rarely ever use a try-hard team. And that's a habit that I developed since Oras, because if I use a try-hard team, of course I'm going to win. But that's not a winning. Winning doesn't give me the euphoria anymore, because that's it's more of a, wait, Jam, you lost? That must have been a mistake. So
I know kind of what you mean. Not because I was so used to winning that I got bored of it. Because honestly,
it's more like the dopamine hit wasn't as strong as winning
I know what you mean.
With Wish Flareon and Wish Executor. Right.
Well, yeah, there was that. But I always have doubted myself. It's like no matter how many times I prove to myself, yeah, I can play. Then someone will say something, and I'll be like, you know what, that guy is totally right. I don't know what I'm doing. Everything I've done up until this point is completely fraudulent. And I'll just go, well, time to win, 16 more tournaments.
Give me an example of that.
One guy wrong.
Give me an example, a real-world example of that.
Okay, so you're familiar with the term crust, right?
Yeah. Well, like you mean the literal definition, like the Earth's crust?
No, not quite that. More like what Shake has made it popular to call, or a couple of people have made it popular to call anyone who used to play who has played Dual Generations, crust. So as soon as you are out of your prime, you're just has been washed up, whatever. And so as soon as I see someone, I try to ignore what people say nowadays, because I know most people don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And it really is more of a social thing and about fitting in rather than actually thinking about the game.
Right.
Because I will say I still do enjoy thinking about the game on a competitive sense. I like following the scene in some to a reasonable degree, and thinking about the optimal frameworks of teams and whatnot. But I don't like imposing all the pressure on myself. And a lot of that comes from this whole thing where I constantly need to prove to, some guy who wouldn't know the difference anyway that I can still win. And so, I'll see, BKC's been having a bad tournament. He's washed up. And then it really is lose-lose scenarios, like you said, because, if you lose, it's like, wait, you lost? What's wrong with you? And then, if you win, it's like, okay, well, congratulations. So, like, I had a really bad snake last year because I shouldn't have joined. I hadn't played Sun and Moon in a while.
Yeah.
And I was, out of touch with the metagame and just not having a great time in real life, which is not an excuse, of course. I'm not saying I should have won or anything. I just shouldn't have joined to begin with, and I had, a bad tournament to reflect it, which is fine. Everyone has a bad tournament.
Right.
But, man, people are vicious. It's one bad tournament, it's instantly like,
you're just
all right,
piece of trash.
I always knew you didn't. I always knew you weren't worth anything, and this one tournament, after however many years of success, is all I needed to prove that.
Yeah.
So I really didn't care for that.
Yeah.
And then I came back and had a great SPL, which, thank God. And I was, no one said a word. And
that's
I was like,
not how life works. You should know this.
I know. It's just, but that's exactly what I mean. Why would I put myself through that? I'm not saying you should only play for external validation. Matter of fact, I think you absolutely shouldn't. But at the same time, I really don't like how people really don't like giving credit. Or not giving credit, but really don't acknowledge the right things.
Well, that's a good segue into what we were discussing before. So, we were talking about the idea of predicting and whatnot. But before we hop into that, because you touched on a really, like, a couple good points there, primarily the one about being transparent, which I very much appreciated, and I'm sure the audience appreciates the transparency about how you feel, because not only with the somebody's talking shit about you, but also like the pre-tournament like nerves and whatnot. That's incredibly valuable, because I actually, you discussing the anxiety or even the ladder tilts and wanting to come back. I'd written an article addressing that on. It was called "How Pokemon Can Make You a Millionaire," right? And it was born of my subscribers. I remember I wrote about it in the beginning of the book, where I mentioned that there was a time where I'd go on the ladder and I'd feel anxious, and so I had to come back and say, okay, where's that coming from? And then what I ended up coming to the conclusion of is, that win loss, that next moment of uncertainty represents either a positive or negative assessment of your ability, yourself, whatever. Now, let's say that you BKC, which is the case just listening to you, you generally perceive yourself to be a competent player. We're going to use the word competent, not good, because that's we're not going to go there, but you're a competent player. You're aware of what you would need to do to generally prevail, or if you're watching a game, you generally know what is the optimal
I tend to understand how the game works.
Right.
Yeah. Both in the team builder and in the game.
Optimal decision making. Exactly. Like, I'm gonna keep it very loose, so whoever is listening can interpret whatever they want, right? And so if that's the case, and this is the key that I had to learn, if you are too attached to that identity, then anything that will threaten that will cause you anxiety. Anything that could potentially threaten that. So it could be me saying, man, BKC isn't that good. He's just a lucky player. Do you see how lucky he gets? Right? Even if I'm a random player, even if Smock Tour Chat, the oasis of toxicity, some guy in the chat says BKC is trash. Did you see that play? Ha ha ha. Right? And let's say you didn't disable the chat. I don't know why you wouldn't. But let's say you wanted to watch that and watch the game and the chat live, and you saw that, and in your mind you're thinking, in that moment, he's attacking who you believe yourself to be. So if I am a competent player, and you're saying that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, in that moment, I either accept what you're saying, which is the equivalent of dying, because if you were to say, oh, he's right, then that identity of being competent that you once had, that you're so tightly bounded with, has to perish, because then you just accepted somebody else's assessment of you. And so now you have a new identity of, oh, I'm the shitty player, or you prove him wrong. But the problem is, if you don't, then it just causes a swirl of negative emotion, and then the next battle you go into is going to be more about, I can't let that dude get it right, rather than, okay, I'm supposed to be giving it my all. Whatever happens, happens, as long as I went hard. Everybody wants to win. But if you went as hard as you can, and we've all had those battles, but the matchup was just, there are times where matchup is just literally impossible, or you didn't prep well enough, or the hacks was just unfortunate and there's nothing you could do, then it's just that. Like, it's no like blaming of anything. It was just is what it is. But if you're still focused on that person, you're like, no, I'm still good, which is what I think happened to Lavos. Like, that's actually a perfect example of that frame of thinking, is like, I know I'm good, I know I'm the best, I know I was ready, and then reality didn't align with your identity. And so you have to let everybody know that they're wrong, you're right, I am the truth, you all don't get it. And then
now, that is some incredibly poignant psychoanalysis. Jesus Christ, that is as on the money as it possibly could be. That's actually my area of study. But minus the Pokemon parts.
Same.
But yeah, in addition to all the stuff you said, when you start getting caught up in what other people think, then that gets in your head, and it's like, why are you playing this game? Are you playing this game to impress some guy who doesn't know the difference between a good player and a bad
You're
player?
Right.
And while we're on the subject of psychology, then I'll mention that one of the reasons you can't put stock in these people's opinions is because a lot of what they say is not because they care about the game or I personally am a huge nerd, so I have a lot of investment in, the state of DPP and how it's played and yada yada. But most people don't see that. What they want is acceptance. They want to be accepted in the group, the group of the big popular players who everyone listens to. So they're going to say what everyone else is saying. So, and since the easiest way of becoming notorious is to either just be loud. So whether you're gassing up a player who really isn't doing anything that impressive, or just constantly shitting on someone who's sometimes it's just not your day. We do not play a game where skill is the only determining factor in any given battle for deciding who wins and who loses. So when they start doing that, they're not going, oh well, I actually have thought about everything. I really do believe that this player was not doing well.
No.
You just see, I'll use you as an example for this because a couple of years ago, I think you almost broke Smog Tours because someone was watching your game, or so many people were watching your game and spamming in the chat, and it was just, oh my god, he's so good with every single move. And I don't remember the game exactly, so I'm sure you killed whoever you played. But what I was thinking was, this guy could lead off with a fair.
Yeah, literally. I remember.
Against six grass types.
Did you put that in the Smog Tour chat? I think
it's
it
very
did.
Possible.
I think I remember you typing that out. Yeah, go ahead though.
This guy could lead off with Heatran against a team of Ferrothorn, Scizor, Forretress, and 3 Skarmory and 2 other things weak to Heatran, and click Lava Plume on the first turn, and this chat would go, oh my god, he's
how
so
does
good.
he know? Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So at that point, I mean, obviously there is an element of spectacle to Pokemon, which is obviously fine. We are not scientists. We are in this because we love Pokemon. We are not playing the most optimal competitive game out there. So, but at the same time, I don't like it when it's dumbed down. So, well, while I get why someone like Lavos would explode like that when his identity was threatened. Well, okay, we won't get into that entire thing because that deserves its own level of psychoanalysis. But I will say I get it. It can be so frustrating when you're doing everything right and everyone just... Also, as a side note, then I will mention I don't play with the Smog Tours chat open. Okay, good. Because it does nothing but distract you.
Absolutely.
But I will say, because I'm a little vain, then after a game I'll ask to see the logs.
Oh yeah, Because I know, especially if there was a turn where you absolutely one of those plays you make where you predict a triple switch and just floor your opponent. In that moment, that Smog Tour chat is erupting.
I will admit, about 3 years ago, this was before I had my whole X out of the Smog Tours chat thing.
Yeah.
I was playing Sun and Moon Ubers in SPL because my team had qualified and we could really do whatever we wanted, and I just wanted to play Sun and Moon.
Right.
Ubers specifically. And I had this sequence of... I think I quintuple switch to get my Cloyster in for a layer of spikes. And yeah, okay, I obviously enjoyed what the Smog Tours chat was saying at that point. It was mostly just my teammates, but still. But yeah, even though I wouldn't want to do that now because it takes you out of the game, whether you think it does or not, it does. I trust in science. But then, afterwards I'm like, yeah, I want to see what people said. Why wouldn't I? You don't want to play entirely for other people's validation because then, of course, you just get stuck down this rabbit hole of constantly chasing the next hit.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's nice to be validated sometimes. It's nice when you make the great moves you were working on in practice games, and then people go, "Wow, that was really smart."
Right.
So you gotta find a balance somewhere.
Absolutely, I'd never say
but
that.
you can't put too much. You can't put too much stake in it because a lot of people. It's really more about being accepted for them, so they're going to say whatever everyone else is saying, and they probably don't get the metagame, or how many times I've seen people say something dumb about DPP that they don't get,
right?
Like how is Bronzong allowed? This thing is literally unkillable. That's something that was actually said by accomplished tournament players,
but it's false.
Other stuff like that. Then, so you really can't put too much stock in.
Of course,
people who are saying things like that.
Of course, and as a content, go ahead.
Oh, it was just more of the same. That sometimes it's nice to be acknowledged, but when someone's ripping on you, I mean okay, so if you need to get better, then you need to get better. and make better moves. But at the same time, the Smogtourist chat will turn on anyone at the drop of a hat.
Easily.
A lot of people who talk about how, for example, they were, proud members of the Smogtourist chat, and then they really liked it when they were in the middle of a game and they were being praised. And then, they had a bad turn or two, and the Smogtourist chat turned on them.
Yeah, literally.
And they hated that feeling so much.
Oh, really? So there are people who have gone into the psychology of, well, not the psychology, but the emotional shift they experienced. So there are people who've actually like discussed that particular like occurrence.
Phenomenon. Yeah, what I felt like was at times was that I was like a clown playing for other people's entertainment.
Facts.
It wasn't like we were looking for, oh wow, he's his team is nice. It's well built. He's making the good moves. His position in the game is good. It's very surface level stuff. It's like, wow, his team is boring.
Right.
Wow, he's playing so safe.
Why does he have so many green Pokemon? Like,
I do genuinely believe that a team has to be either really pretty or really ugly.
No, I actually don't believe in ugly teams.
It's weird.
I can't do the ugly teams.
I just mean like teams with like T-Tar, Heatran, Ferrothorn,
Gray,
and no blue Pokemon, because T-Tar, Heatran, Ferrothorn, Latios, that's a
oh yeah,
team.
that's a gorgeous.
But without the Latios or the Rotom or the Keldeo, and you just have like Reuniclus and just a whole blob of green and brown and red, that's an ugly team. But it's so ugly that that it has to work. But if it's just like it's a mismatch, then this is not based in science.
Yeah,
at
this
all.
is some complete bullshit, by the way. Like,
this is a casual observation that you bring up in a chat with your friends, and they're like, "Huh, that is so right, lol." But you never actually like build your teams. Like, I would never set out. Actually, no. Nowadays, I would, because I'm just having fun with the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, hell yeah, I'll try to build the ugliest team possible or the prettiest team possible. But if your sole goal is being competitive, you are not going, oh, I'm gonna build this super ugly team. It's just the way that the best Pokemon match together. They just happen to naturally color coordinate pretty nicely. So,
like
it's why a lot of Oris and Sun and Moon teams are really ugly. But not in the good way, because Clefable doesn't go with a lot.
Dude, speaking of the color scheme, when I used to build heavily in Oras, I would lean towards things of that nature because I know when the team preview come out. One thing, guys, you kind of touched on if you're a newer viewer of mine, you don't know of my tournament days or whatnot, and so it was partly like a meme, but it wasn't like it was such a meme that I can't back up my wins. Like, if you come against me when I was at the top, like, you better come well. I genuinely at that time I was like, if you don't hacks me, you're not winning this. And because Oras didn't have a lot
of high competition. I remember, but I know what you mean, because a lot of great players have like streaks where it's like you just can't touch me, and I've seen that in so many different players in so many different generations, so many different tiers, even. That take a guy like Sweepage, right? Sweepage's biggest accomplishment is making Smogon finals,
right?
And other than that, he's had mixed results in a lot of tournaments. He made a lot of Smogon playoffs, but never sealed the deal. Came close, really close. But other than that, he had some ups and downs in tours. But Sweep, when he was in a zone, was absolutely untouchable. Yeah, and that's part of why we can't measure things like raw skill as an entire indicator of how good a player is.
Right.
Because if you want to mention a guy who's the most purely skilled you've ever seen, I can name 10 more guys who are easily as good as that guy at their peak.
Right.
Because, ceiling and whatnot. But what you got to measure is how they were able to translate it when it mattered over time. Because, let's say, a lot of people like to say that Tsung is the best player ever in terms of raw skill, and Tsung was extremely skilled, no doubt about that. But I think there are a lot of guys who were just as talented as he was at their peaks.
Right.
It's just a matter of translating that skill into results. Because, anyone can say, oh, well, I understand the game of Pokemon so well, I know when I have to make quadruple switch in order to pursue the opponent's Metagross for 17% so that I can 2-KO it with Snorlax Earthquake later.
Right.
random stupid advanced example. But anyone can say that, but can you do it when it matters?
Right.
So that's and I really do think Sweep was a great player, but that's why results can be misleading, to say the least. And that goes into the whole thing about how people value the wrong things. On one hand, you don't want to you can't not
Pay
respect
attention
someone's
to
achievements.
tournament, right? Yeah, like you can't ignore
So
it.
on one hand, yeah, if someone has a great tournament or a series of great tournaments, who are you to say, I think that guy sucks? I mean, yeah, you can not agree with the way that they play. That personally is the case for me with a lot of proven players. But, I got to respect they made it work. So who am I to say no? On the other hand, then numbers are not everything. So a lot of people would say Sweepage was not a great player because he had bad team tour records. And I would say, yeah, but look at how he played the game. He played the game well.
Right.
He had his flaws. Who doesn't? But he also had a lot of achievements, and the way he played the game. This was one of my idols in Pokemon is a super old guy named Goki. And one of the lessons that he imprinted on me, that's not the right word, but whatever, he was that it's not necessarily the end result, it's how you play the game. Because think about it like this. Anyone can, make random predictions and completely trip up the opposing player and make them look stupid and win that game. Can you do that every single game? No, you can't. So it's more about learning to play the game at a consistent level and consistently getting results. Because other than that, anyone can say, oh, I'm the best player ever. Look at this one game I had where I absolutely dominated a guy. It's like, yeah, okay, you did that once. Some guys were even good at doing that semi-consistently, and that's what made them good. But it's not just it's being able to turn your playstyle into a vessel for consistently winning, as opposed to just throwing darts at the wall, seeing what works. So yeah, sometimes you're not going to win, and that's just the nature of Pokemon. Matchup, hacks, other guy was just good. A lot of people don't give credit where credit's due, and that extends to not just, oh, you should have played better, but it's also, hey, the other guy was playing really well. So it really depends on who Smogtours is rooting for at the time. It's either X is playing really well or X is playing really badly. No mention of the other guy.
Well, another factor as well is, and this is, this kind of almost debunks the idea of a best player. I mean, that doesn't exist, but even the idea of, all right, let's put it this way. In order for us to, I guess, using this word very loosely, objectively determine who a best would have been, we'd have to have the context of that. Like, we'd have to have literal. So let's say it's a Gen 4, right? And we're gonna determine who was the best Gen 4 player. Only people who are masters at Gen 4 could make. You'd have to have a team of like 4 or 5 of the best Gen 4 players. But it can't be their best based on a lack of options. They have to be like best amongst a significant pool of players. So, they have 1,000 players, will be the best 5. And then those best 5, if they're going to assess a player, and let's say they're going to assess you, they'd have to take let's just use your tournament games because those are what matter. I wouldn't count like ladder stuff. Let's say we take the significant games. When they're assessing those, they'd have to assess them thoroughly, turn by turn, play by play, with the context of not only what you were trying to do, but also what you were able to do. And so if you played a game, because people assume that every game is the same, you're not in the same position every game. I call these the 3, I think it's later down in the book, I don't know how far you are, but it's like the 3 things. So you either have 3 types of game categories. You have like a setup and sweep, I call it. That means you have a significant like advantage, and all you need to do is like make one tweak, weaken this one thing by 8%, and you sweep him, or just get this Pokemon and he doesn't have anything to protect himself against it, victory. Those types of games where like, okay, it's really hard to lose this because I have a significant matchup advantage versus my opponent, which most people aim for, which people do not consider in tournaments, because you try to counter team your opponent, which by doing so saps some of the skill that you would have had to use from the games. So I could beat you 10 times out of 10 because I outbuilt you. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't play well, but you didn't have very much room to even win, assuming I play well and you play well. So if we both play equally, you always lose because I have a superior team, which is a real thing. And then you have the second type of game, which is that the ideal game we like to all imagine, which I call a blow for blow, which is again, even matchup, harder to assess than. You have to really be, again, very well versed in that metagame to assess whether a matchup is even, because people will look, he has a grass type for his water type. But that one water type could technically run through the team after a nasty plot or something, or and so that's a blow for blow, an even game. The ideal game of Pokemon, and then you have what I call a walking a tightrope situation where you have a significant matchup disadvantage, and off jump, if we play this equally as well, meaning you take just about as much risk as your opponent takes, and it's like a safe, as they put it, game, you're probably going to lose because your matchup advantage is significantly worse than your opponent's matchup versus you. And so okay, let's say you're playing stall and you're like, okay, in order for me to beat this guy's stall, I'm gonna have to make 100 double switches, which you've been in those situations before. Get the stealth rocks up, pass the mega sableye somehow. But in that situation, you're playing from a completely different mindset than if you had the matchup advantage. You're playing super high risk, high reward, because if you play low risk, you're gonna lose. And so,
or arguably, it could be even a high risk, medium reward. It's like, all right, I got 12% on his, let's say it's Oris, Mega Venusaur. Now I got to switch out and, do that 3 more times before I even have a chance to 2 KO it with something.
Right. It's not like a cut and dry, kind of thing. I'm trying to paint a picture for those who are listening. I go over all this in the book and whatnot, but so those are the 3 situations you're generally going to find yourself. There's kind of it's not like cut and dry. You have a mixture. But those are the general structure of games you're going to find. Now, the reason it's hard to determine whether a best or not. Let's say I'm assessing 10 BKC games, and I don't have the context. Let's say I have context for DPP, but I don't have context for your opponent's skill, your opponent, how well those teams match up, and all these things. I may just face value look at the game. That's why when a person narrates a game, it reads differently, if that makes sense, than if you just watch it straight up. Because when you hear their rationale, if you're watching a game and you're a third party or a spectator, you sit there, and this used to always irk me back when I used to play. In the Smog Tour chat, they're very short-sighted, so they'll go turn by turn, not realizing a player can say, okay, if I do this, because we forget that in Pokemon, you do not know shit about the opponent's team until they do it. You don't know if it's life orb, leftovers. You don't know anything, and so you're making sound, quote unquote, decisions off essentially unknowns. It's not guessing, because there's a higher probability that this will be what he'll use, but you still don't know, and so you're making decisions off. Okay, it's the highest probability that he will be this kind of set, and because I think he will be this kind of set, I'm going to play in a certain kind of way, assuming that. Now, if the opponent is, let's say he was a Scarf Gyarados Moxie, which no one runs, right? And you play in a way where you literally win if he's not Scarf Gyarados. You cannot lose. Boom, he's Scarf, you lose. If there are 5 of those games, right? Can I really say BKC is a 50-50 player because you lost to Scarf Gyarados? Because in that moment, I would say, if I was watching it, if you played to where you outplayed to where Scarf Gyarados, I'd say, okay, well, he played the game actually perfectly. If it was a normal set, it's impossible for you to know it's Scarf Gyarados. And if you play to the fact that it's Scarf Gyarados and it's not, and then you lose to DD, I think that would be a worse play because DD is more probable. And so I'm like,
no, of course. Like if you have I had this scenario in one of my SPL games something like it, where I had a choice of either playing it safe and going for KO with my CB Salamence on the opponent's last Pokemon, or making a really risky switch and getting extra poison damage on it. And then I would guarantee the KO. But if that switch was predicted, then I lost. So eventually I decided, you know what, it's an extraordinarily high chance I KO it unless I get insanely unlucky, or he's running some set that he cannot be running. So I would much rather lose to that than to lose because, you know, I tried to play it too safe. Because playing too safe definitely gets you in the ass.
Yeah.
So I also have an example for the thing where people don't judge things correctly because of all the limited information there is. So in Smoking Tour Finals about 4.5 years ago, then CL had this Terrakion, it was black and white.
Yeah.
He had this Terrakion that close combated Starmie, and Starmie was gonna, you know, rip through the Terrakion and then you know, smack something else as well. And, you know, people were going, why did he do that? He had the Stone Edge versus the Ferrothorn because he needs Terrakion for Volcarona, and, you know, he can't let Starmie in for free, and so why is he doing that? And then CL reveals Quick Attack, and the Starmie doesn't die, but it dies to the next Life Orb hit, which means that CL guarantees he gets Stealth Rock up to limit the Volcarona. And, you know, everyone goes, oh my god, he's such a genius. So that's the turn-by-turn thing, whereas before they were going, well, that was such a stupid move. And now they're like, oh my god, that was genius. So there's stuff like that. So another thing I wanted to mention is you mentioned that, you know, you got to get, like, supreme experts to judge this stuff. But, you know, there's also, you know, the time period at the time. You know, someone who... Like, let's say there's someone right now who I consider really good at DPP, but wasn't around super actively in 2016, so would not be able to make the most accurate assumptions about the metagame at the time, leading to those decisions. Like, for example, oh, why didn't you scout for insert obscure Heatran set? Well, no one was using
at the time
obscure Heatran set because reason X, Y, and Z, you know, valid reasons or whatnot. So it's really a lot more work than you can feasibly get for Pokemon, because not only is it a lot of time investment, you know, people come and go from the game, but it's a lot of work. You know, in sports, then players will generally not, like, retire for a couple of years and come back. You know, they're in it the entire way, and they have people who are paid a ton of money to go over them and analyze them thoroughly and, you know, try and be unbiased and whatnot. Whereas here we have just things like time and time away from the game, and things like the fact that you're not getting paid, and the whole social factor, which colors a lot of it. You know, I pride myself in being objective. Like, even if I don't like someone, then I will never deny their skill as a player. But, and I'm not saying that to make myself sound like an upstanding guy, but it is a fact that a lot of people will go, I don't like that guy because he disagreed with me one time. I think he sucks.
Yeah, that's, you know, super common. Super common.
Yeah, and so, you know, you're never going to be able to assess it fully. So,
which is the point of that. Like, we're just saying, like, it can't really ever say of a best unless you can fully do that. Because otherwise, it'll always be just kind of a subjective thing, recency thing. Some people think MJ's the best. Recent kids think LeBron's the best. Why? They've never seen MJ. Or MJ people see MJ and they're like, LeBron isn't as good as what I saw. So emotions, like, you just can't.
They really get in their way.
You just can't.
Yeah, because, you know, both sides of that argument are ridiculous. To take MJ versus LeBron, you know, you cannot deny LeBron James, but I really dislike the other side of that coin. You know, for me, I could go either way. I really don't mind. But what I really dislike is when people act like MJ, you know, had a walk in the park. NBA, which was just flagrantly not true. Like, you had people fouling the living shit out of him. Like, he was basically getting beat up every night, and he was still dominating. And people were like, lol, LeBron beat the Warriors, and that means everything MJ ever did was unimpressive. So that kind of thing is ever present in Pokemon too. And actually, possibly the most important reason why I don't think we can ever fully agree is because what metric do you use? So for me personally, you know, you could say tournament games. And I could say, okay, sure, tournament games. But like you said, a lot of what is determined in Pokemon is shaped by the team matchup. And that is why I value people who actually build their own teams, not just because, I think it's a good skill to have as a player and because I build a lot of teams, but because let's take a random game. This is an example of a game from some random World Cup game from round 1 in 2016. So some guy had a Specs Hydreigon, and it could be Specs Hydreigon that clicks Dragon Pulse. It could be Nidoking that comes in off a Volt Switch against Clefable. Every time it comes in, it gets a KO. And the player who has the Specs Hydreigon, the Life Orb Nidoking, then they go through the motions. They get their Volt Switch Pokemon in.
Right.
They Volt Switch. They get their big gun and they get the KO. And they do it over and over and over, and they win.
Right.
And fine, good job. They use the team well. So now you get to the fact: was it entirely their idea that they wanted to use Hydreigon? And even if it was, did they make the team? And that means so much of that matchup was dictated by someone who wasn't even playing it. So when you so for me, like, I will never deny someone as a great player if they have great playing skill, but I will definitely contest them being among the best ever if they're constantly being fed teams by someone else, because that is taking a hugely important part of the game and just completely being like, well, someone else is going to do it for me. Some people have equated it to ghosting in a sense. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I really think it's lame, for lack of a better term, when someone is constantly having good team matchup and he's like, well, the guy who feeds me my teams, does a lot for me. So,
so in the sense of he scouts the opponent and then builds this team for him.
Or, even without scouting, just constantly getting teams from someone else. You never have to do the work. You can just play, and, it's a lot less, in a sense, I dislike how Pokemon rewards not building your own teams, because you're harder to scout. You can really just use whatever you want as long as you just, ask, or constantly asking someone else for new teams. You'll never run out of them, and you'll be unpredictable, and so as long as you can play, that's great. So obviously, if you can build your own teams, that has an advantage because no one can possibly suss out what you're running. But, that requires a lot of time investment, whereas, getting a good team from someone is as easy as, PMing them, hey, can I use that team? Or, if you want to spend a little bit of time, then you just copy it from a replay, which isn't very hard. So to me, team building is very important, because no one would ever deny that having a good, well-rounded team, or a team suited to the matchup, is important, right? So, because no one would ever say that. Whenever someone says, oh, Pokemon shouldn't be about the teams, it should just be about the playing, and you say, well, that's never been the case. You have to have a good overall team. Yeah, totally agree. So then why is it that you're praising a guy who has that part done for him by someone else? I'm not saying that the guy can't be a great player, but the team part is just so important. That's what really holds me back on a lot of guys. I really respect the guys who build their own teams, because they are exhibiting more skill to me in that regard. Because, just to really hammer the point home, I'm not saying that you have to build your own teams or else you're not worth anything. That's obviously not the case. We have a ton of great players who never build their own teams, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're talking about best ever, or having the conversation of among the best ever, then that's just got to be a factor. But again, that's just me. And while I personally am very strongly attached to that viewpoint, that's my metric. So in addition to tournament success and, building your own teams and building your own teams well and whatnot, then, so what metric do you use finally to determine that best player of all time? You can go on tournament achievements, and, it's not just building your own teams, because let me make up a stupid example. Imagine some guy made made several teams that were just flat out destroyed by insert common threat. Let's say Volcarona, and no one ever brought Volcarona against him. Yeah. So is that a good overall well-rounded team, or was he just preying off? Props to him if no one was bringing Volk for him to do that. But at the same time, how do you measure it? Do you measure it on whether it worked? Do you measure it on, because I'm personally not a fan of one-off cheesy teams. Do you measure it on whether it worked, or whether it's whether it failed or whether it had a role in the matchup at all. How do you judge such a thing? Because people disagree on what a good team is all the time. A lot of the time the only metric is widespread tournament success, but that doesn't necessarily mean a team is good or bad.
Right.
It's more likely to be leaning in the direction of good, but you get the idea. So yeah, if people can't agree on this kind of thing, how could they possibly agree on
The best ever.
something else?
Yeah.
So
Nowhere.
yeah, with the team part is just so crucial, and you're never going to agree. People are going to go, well, I like the guy who makes a lot of double switches, so he's my pick for best ever.
Which is generally going to be, what I've come to realize is the higher, not in like this, I'm the top of the totem pole, because there is a hierarchy. There are players that are better than others. But what I'm saying is, generally, you can tell, like, let's say if a player is, and this again, one of the things that used to irk me in the Smog Tour chat. Let's say I'm watching a battle, right? And I used to narrate these as I'd watch them, like in ORAS, because I was producing a ton of content at the time. And so I'd like watch a battle and record it live and like narrate it live and, kind of that kind of thing. And so as I'm narrating it, I'd narrate it with my level of skill and my level of metagame knowledge in mind. And so it's always easier to be like, yes, again, kind of on the bench and watching, rather than being in the game. No pressure. You don't have to, he should have did that and blah blah blah. Right? Fine. That's always been a thing. I mean, a fat guy in the stands is criticizing LeBron James about how he plays. Okay, buddy, like you've been.
And he could be right. That's the thing, because he's not the guy who, however many thousand people are looking at. He could be totally right that LeBron should have passed on that play, but it's still not really his place because,
Yeah, it's not at all, right? It's one of those things where everybody's a critic. That's what that saying, I'm sure, originated from. Everybody can sit on the sideline and say what you should have done in the same situation. And that's the thing. In the same situation, so 99% of the Smart Tour chat, as you mentioned, the Seal example, short-term thinking, right? I remember when I was playing Tricking, I never forgot this game, because I remember it even took a while to even get the game done because my computer was trash. Like, I'm talking like Windows Vista, I think, was on it. Like it was like bad, and I couldn't get on Blunder PM Tricking away. It was a whole story. So I hop on. All I'm doing is praying that the computer doesn't shut off mid thing, because if it goes, I'm not coming back. Like, I can't come back, and I know I'm gonna lose that to timer. And so with dealing with all that before, I'm like, boom, going into the game. And I remember Tricking has a very aggressive style of play, as you kind of mentioned, boom, boom, boom. But something that I think you either have to be at a certain level to understand. I've never heard it articulated, but I've seen it acted out, so I'm sure other players understand this. But it's far less about the predictions. Like, it's far less about that. So if I'm for example, I'm in a setup and sweep type game, meaning I have the matchup advantage, and I'm like, you can dance around, hop around. It's like being in a fight and you know how to fight, right? And the guy is like doing flips and he's bouncing off the wall. He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up, bro. That's literally what switching around looks like to me, because I am so laser. I'm not as sharp as this as I used to be, because I'm not as in the scene. I'm not playing as high level players. I can cultivate it back because, as you said, that guy that came back, once you got it, you got it. So there's no doubt. But at that time, I knew the metagame like the back of my hand. Oras was out for 2 years. And so he was bouncing around, I remember this was the thing, man. It pissed me off in the moment. And the guy like hopped off Smog Tours. He didn't even want me to know who he was. But he PMs me because I closed the Smog Tour chat. And it's just looking great for Tricking. He's coming in, he's SDing. And all I'm doing with my hip pod on is clicking slack off. Like, I'd come in, I'd slack off, I'd switch. Come in, slack. Now, I haven't lost any Pokemon, right? I had maybe.
Sounds like my kind of game,
right?
Honestly.
But like, from the viewer standpoint, he's like, oh god, Jam's getting pressured. He needs to predict. And so, if you're a short-term player, and that's kind of where I was going with this, if you're the kind of player that has not yet mastered the art of the long term, meaning you're thinking 15 turns ahead. Like, this one turn isn't the end all be all, and if I get this one turn wrong, I guaranteed lose. Versus if I heal here, blah blah, he could do something, he could get a crit, but I could lose the game off this one turn of impatience. Versus guaranteed win the game in 30 turns of patience. And so, okay, boom, he's SDing, he's going hard, predicting, aggressive, and so he feels like he has control. And maybe like I don't remember, like maybe 20 turns later, my Charizard comes in and flamethrowers his entire team. Now, what I always found interesting was most people didn't realize that Charizard was about to sweep until I was about to set it in. And so, to them, they're like, he's predicting, oh god, predict him here, he's gonna go, and they're locked into the moment. I need to predict him, I need to react. But again, it's as if he's doing flips and tricks. And I'm solely focused on, like, once the timing is right, one to the jaw. And that's exactly what happened. And then that dude PM me in the middle of the battle while things were bad. Predict his switch. I think it was like he was going to double switch or something. Predict it. He's done it 100 times. Predict it. And I didn't respond, obviously. And I remember I had something ready for him when I was done, because I won the game. Again, it was like a 4-0. But in the middle of the game, you'd be like, how is he going to win? And I won. And I was trying to type back to the dude left the server. He's like, I'm sorry, master, and left the server, which is why people used to be super crazy back then. But like, it's the same concept that you're describing here. It's like, it's not about the moment, the turn ahead. Because one, you don't know what the player has. Like, he could have had a non-Stone Edge Terrakion. Like, he could have been like, I'm going to go full-on counter team. He doesn't even have Stone Edge. And you're like, why doesn't he Stone Edge? And he's playing knowing he doesn't have Stone Edge. And he's like, okay, what's the best way for me to win? Because I know I don't have Stone Edge. You know what I'm saying? And so all that has to get... And that's why Pokemon is more of an art. And it's not a competitive game. You got to factor in that crit he got there. You got to factor in how much would that Stone Edge miss have mattered. Even if it would... I remember a game versus ABR. And the Stone Edge, I missed his drill. Which to people was like, it's resisted. It wouldn't, but he was on a balloon. And in my mind, I'm like, that literally changed like 7 turns by that one miss of him not being on his balloon. And to it's like, oh, it's just a miss. He was on the balloon. He was gonna resist the Stone Edge anyway. But they're thinking in that moment versus, dude, I had 25 turns planned out, and he needed to be off his balloon for that to work.
I know it's frustrating when something seemingly insignificant happens and people are like, oh, come on, that's not so big a deal. And you're like, yeah, it is a big deal. Because when you go with a lot of defensive teams, you'll rely on moves like Leech Seed and Toxic. And, let's say you miss a Leech Seed, right? Leech Seed is not OHKOing anything. Right. But people go, oh, you missed a Leech Seed or a Toxic. Big deal, get over it. And you're like, would you say that if you missed a Fire Blast on a Scizor, let's say? Right. Because that is a big deal, and that Leech Seed or Toxic would have completely changed the game, and suddenly you are behind, and people are like, oh, it's not a big deal. What's interesting is, the example, let's say your Charizard came in and, destroyed his entire team. You would think that's obvious, right? Like, it's, what was his team, if you can remember? Just a bunch of slower Pokemon?
It wasn't even super slow. Maybe, at that time's Aura, so Landorus, like, we're talking Zardawai here, so... below base 100, but not necessarily like dead slow. So Landers, Kyurem, things of that nature.
Yeah, so you would think, wow, he does not answer Zardawai well at all. But instead you think, oh, he used the recovery move. He's on the back foot, and I get it if you're more into Pokemon for like a spectator event,
right?
Like if I were to watch a game of StarCraft or League of Legends or some other game I know nothing about. I would probably be initially, more impressed by like, wow, that guy just made something explode. Cool.
Right.
But I would not, impose my opinion of, I think this guy's really good and this other guy's getting fucked up, because I just am not. Well, okay, I don't understand it, but I'm also not looking at it the right way.
And that, which is the difference.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know that they don't know what they're talking about. And
Dunning-Kruger, yeah.
And I always want to kind of convey these truths, but people can be sensitive a lot of times, and it's like if it's a fact, it's a fact, right? It doesn't mean like you can't not know it. It's that you just don't know, and there's no shame in not knowing. I don't know how many miles.
Look, the best players in the world learn every single day. Every single time they play Pokemon, the best player in the world, or the best players in the world, let's say, learn something new. Even if they're not going around saying, I really learned so much from my, ladder game against XYZ. Even when they make a play that's really good, it sticks in their head, and they're going, wow, that kind of play, I understand why that play was good. I'm going to incorporate it more. Like, I'll give an example. I was doing some casual laddering for YouTube recently, and I was, just beating, scrubs at the total bottom of the advanced ladder. Right. But, I was making, like, some moves with my Pursuit Metagross, and I was like, you know what? That Pursuit Metagross into Salamence trick, that's really good. I'm going to keep that in mind the next time I build a team with Pursuit Metagross. That just opened up a new avenue for me. I was playing some guy with, an in-game Gen 3 team. So, like, you can even learn from yourself, just from experience. That's why experience is so good. But you really got to be willing to learn. Like, in your book, you mentioned the importance of letting go of ego. Which, is really hard, but you got to accept it's really hard, especially when you're constantly being attacked by everyone else. Who wants to say, you know what, you're right, I'm imperfect, I have a lot to learn? Who wants to say that in a community where you are constantly ripped on for, not getting Stealth Rock up when you could have? Right. The greatest sin in Pokemon. But, who wants to be that vulnerable?
But that's where
if you go further down
that's where the true power lies. But yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. But if you go further down that rabbit hole, then you think, why am I subjecting myself to people who think like this? I'm not gonna convince them. These people don't want to hear how their way of thinking is flawed.
They don't give a
fuck. They want to be accepted, and they want to rip into other people. I personally really dislike people who enjoy humiliating others for their own enjoyment. So, be it verbally or otherwise, like Ben Gay had this one game against, I don't remember, Hai or someone in Snake, where he had the game like extremely won, and Hai's last Pokemon was just like a Toxpex or something, and Ben Gay had a Life Orb, Clefable, and like something else, and he just kept switching around and started taunting him verbally, and he was like, hey, try and beat this. I think it was getting really nasty, actually. And then he just kept fire blasting the Toxpex instead of just thunderbolting it and winning. Right. And, to me, that was...
distasteful.
Distasteful is one way. For those who are familiar with American sports, then Bush League is the right way to put it. It's just like... or anyone who's ever seen Coach Carter. It's like, it's not enough to just beat your opponent. You have to humiliate him. It's like, and at that point, it really becomes, I hope someone does that to you, and you would absolutely deserve it. Right. But do you really want to be in that environment where you're constantly
that's no way to live.
On edge, because you can't just lose. You're gonna get humiliated by some guy who would never pull this shit at like VGC or something. Right. As soon as the anonymity of the internet melts away, none of that. So, and I realize this is like a thing of the internet that
without a doubt,
will say stuff they never would.
Oh man!
Otherwise,
comment section. I'm not sure if you get a lot of them in yours. I get a few here and there. I'm like, I always just kind of.
I made the mistake of reading the comments on the Fall Swipe gaming video I did, and I've never been more insecure about my voice or the way I talk. I know, 10 nice comments, one mean.
You did
comment.
One recently.
Remember the mean comment? Yeah, I did the last one on Skarmory.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, guys. Sorry to cut you off. By the way, guys, go subscribe to BKC. I should have said that in the beginning of the video, but go subscribe. Yeah, go ahead.
If you like me rambling, then there's a lot where that came from. But yeah, there's I really don't care for the humiliation aspect, and that's a lot of what goes on right now. It's less. I've talked about this with McMegan a lot, actually. I think in some ways, Smogon has gotten better, and in other ways, it's just gotten worse. Like, okay, so a common complaint is that, old players, they had it easy. Look at this cherry-picked game from 2007 where there's not one double switch. And, compare it to the geniuses we have populating our tournaments. You know,
Geniuses.
even yeah, right. I mean, people really love talking like that. Look, I'm not gonna deny that the overall skill level is higher now because obviously it is. You know why? Because of the work that the players
Before,
did before you.
right,
You are building off knowledge that others laid down for you, and then going, well, what you figured out was so obvious. I could have done it. See, I just figured it out after you already did it, and I had it in front of me, but I figured it out because it was just so obvious.
right.
And, you know, you don't even want to get into how circular and stupid that logic is, but people actually think like that because it's not about, you know, respecting the achievements of others. It's about putting yourself up, and to do that, a lot of people push others down, and it's just really disrespectful and unpleasant, you know, and a bunch of other similar adjectives. So,
What I had to learn,
in some ways, yes,
go ahead.
Smogan is overall the talent level is higher, but in another sense, then you know the basic fundamentals are forgotten, and you know people are risking their these you know so-called enlightened players of the you know most competitive age in history. Yeah, it is, and you know players are better than ever, but they're also doing stupid stuff all the time, and, you know, and sometimes I even question. Are they better? Are they really? You know how many chokes are in every single tournament by this, you know, supposed crop of elite players? Like, I'm not denying that these players are elite and, you know, the best around right now. And, you know, obviously as the level of knowledge goes up over time, then, you know, players are going to get better and better. But that doesn't mean that the players back then were bad. You know, it's the whole Michael Jordan thing
Right.
all over again. It's like, you know, Michael Jordan never had to contend with Steph Curry, so how do we know that he really is the best ever? And it's like, do you really not
Conversations like
see the
those
problem with
never will get.
Yeah,
anywhere.
people aren't interested in having a debate where, you know, they're actually trying to learn. They're just trying to win the argument.
Bingo.
As opposed to actually, you know, coming to some sort of conclusion. So, yeah, there's that, and you know, with the amount of chokes and subpar play you see nowadays, it's like, yeah, all right, you know, anyone can cherry pick a game from a bad game from back then. Yeah, I'm sure they were more common, but we have plenty of bad games now, and we have plenty of games from, you know, well over a decade ago that are just absolutely astounding. Like for example, there's this really great advanced battle from 2010. Which was after Advance ended, but it was by two of the best players from the net battle era who laid the foundation for a lot of what we have today in G80 and Goofball. And every time I watch this battle, I dare it to make me think, they weren't that good anyway. And every single time, I come away from that battle going, oh my god, they were even better than I remember. Jesus Christ. Right. So, you know, it's... I think a little more consideration. I'm not saying, you know, worship the past. You know, people who say it was better in my day, you know, like, look, I get it, but it probably wasn't. On the other hand, just saying, oh, the past doesn't count, I really hate that. I think, you know, both sides should get their fair shake instead of ripping on the others. Because, you know, oh, the new kids are so awful is just as annoying as, oh, you know, shut up, Grandpa.
Right. Yeah,
so,
that's definitely the that's actually a really good way to put it. You know, shut up, Grandpa versus that's well said. That's actually that.
So you played when Sandstorm was permanent? What? No, I don't want your opinion.
Right. No, that's actually really funny. I think there's a saying that says, you know, nations are born stoic and die Epicurean, right? You know, so you know, obviously Stoicism.
I don't know that one.
Stoicism.
But,
are you familiar with Stoicism?
Oh, I was, but you know, it's been like 2 years, so obviously I forgot.
Well, it's no big deal. I mean, again, but it's like, you know, I'm going to use the Google definition here. The endurance of pain and hardship without the display of feelings or without complaint. It's more so the ability to...
so like the actual word stoic. Okay.
Yeah, well, more so the philosophy of Stoicism, meaning like, let's say when America was built, the Pilgrims came or whatever, and it was cold, there was no electricity, they struggled it out, struggled it out to build a city, but you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't what it is today, where you never have to leave your house ever, you know, if you don't want to. And so it's almost like if George Washington and whoever it is now, like just some kid now, were to have a conversation, and George Washington is, you know, so let's say he had somewhat of a reasonable context for modern life. Not like he gets Wi-Fi and how the internet works, but he's like, okay, things are better now. Just he gets that much.
Sure.
And then that kid is like, well, that's stupid. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, not understanding the foundation of his own knowledge stems from all who came before him. The lights that are on are from the struggles of somebody who was from a stoic frame of mind, and the Epicurean frame of mind is more of a, you know, what was it called, laissez-faire or laissez something, laissez-faire. It was more of a for the moment style of, you know, if you can enjoy this moment, what is life if you can't enjoy this moment? Not understanding that you can only enjoy this moment because other people aren't. And so there's somebody right now, and that's why I always find this is kind of a tangent and a ramble, a bit short though. But you know, I don't know if you've seen those videos on YouTube of, you don't have to have a job, quit your job and live an actualized life, right?
I haven't seen those videos, but I know like the kind of mindset it is.
Right.
It's like, you know, you can go live in the woods, and it's like, yeah, okay, I could, but
no, it's not even the woods. They're saying you can have your own online business that makes millions of dollars in revenue. But which I don't disagree with nor have a problem with. It's just that, let's think about this, right? Let's say everyone on Earth did what you were talking about. Who the fuck would be delivering all the products? Who the fuck would be manufacturing the products? Who the fuck would be doing anything else that you enjoy doing? The restaurants
would be serving you your McDonald's at 2 a.m.
Who would be in the restaurants? Where would your trash go? Like, and so it's this myopic view, as if everybody, like, you don't realize how much of your world is being upheld. What if every police officer said, fuck it, I want to be like that guy, let me buy your course, and no police officers. Now when you're getting robbed by the guy who thought you were full of shit and you called the fucking police, oh wait, he's in my course and I told him to quit his job. So it's that disrespect for the context and thinking like, because I do this, everybody should be able to do this.
There's a great example of this, actually, that I didn't come up with. My friend, who actually knows more about the world, did. But he was like, you know, it was one of those debates where someone was praising old players, and, you know, someone else came in and was like, oh my god, this is going to make me sick. And, you know, that comment was just so sweepingly awful, obviously. And then someone else came in and gave the example of, you know, the only reason you can make stupid posts like that on your iPhone is because however many thousand years ago, some Greek guy drew with a stick in the sand, and he was able to figure out the, what was he able to figure out? The curvature of the Earth, or, you know, the fact that the Earth is round.
Right.
You know, and now you would think, well, obviously the way he did it is so obvious, you know, 2,000 years after the fact. But, you know, back then, that guy was a genius. So, you know, just shitting on someone after the fact is just
a
very
disrespectful, ungrateful,
disingenuous, I guess, among other things.
To me, it displays a complete disregard for, like, it's super ungrateful. I think you know, even in a, you know, not to dive into, you know, relationships are complicated, like, but, you know, like, if you didn't have the best parental relationship, but, like, say for 2 years you survived because they did their, you know, it's like, I think the biggest thing I've learned last month, dude, and then, you know, we're kind of drifting away from Pokemon into more like just general shit, so I guess it's a good time to wrap up. But you know, the biggest thing I've learned, and hopefully this is helpful in dealing with the Smogon stuff, and just as you grow, you'll realize it somewhat in your comment section if you come across those kinds of guys. But when somebody leaves, like, say somebody leaves an awful comment, somebody's like, how could you make that misplay right there? You know, and they're just letting me have it in the comment section, right? And let's say if it's like a genuine thing where it's like, oh, you know, right here you could have, I don't care about that. That's fine. You're right. I don't have that problem.
Well, welcome that.
Right.
If you're, you know, devoid of ego, you should be like, wow,
excellent.
You were right.
You helped me.
I should have made that play.
Boom. You helped me learn.
You.
Thanks. Boom. But it's like this. I remember this one guy, man. You know, he's like every video, like he'd only comment when there's something that he feels there's like a negative. Like if he can say something negative, that's he'll never. If I don't make a mistake in the he'll never see his comments, right?
It's like he's not doing it to be constructive. He's just doing it because he wants to bring you down.
Right.
You know, I can also hang around, you know, anyone successful and wait for them to fuck up once and be like, see, I always knew you were a
boom.
hack. You know,
Boom.
like let's say that Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, who everyone will agree is, you know, one of the greatest actors of all time. Let's say he has one movie where he just totally fucks it up. Yeah. And then someone who hates Daniel Day-Lewis goes, see, I told you this fucking guy doesn't know what he's doing. And then, you know, anyone can do that.
But here's the thing.
So, but whereas if you're, I mean, that's not a perfect example because this person is probably not going up to Daniel Day-Lewis and does not have the option of going, hey, man, I think you could have done better. Here's how. But, you know, it's generally the whole thing where you just wait for someone to fuck up and then pounce on it. Kind of like the Pokemon version of a gotcha.
Right.
You know, that's no one wants that. Come on. And it's why I've distanced myself from the tournament scene. I mean, I still enjoy, like, Pokemon as a game, but it with the way Smogon and tournaments are currently structured, and I guess how pervasive Discord is, then you have to really go out of your way to make it about the game, because the way it's such a social thing for so many people, with the social thing outweighing the game, then you will often have situations where the social thing will get in the way of the game itself.
Echo chamber of just toxicity. And actually the Academy Discord that I have right now kept that in mind, because I realized that was the point of me contacting you in the first place. We're alienating a ton of players, and so like the ground rule of the Academy is if I even sniff it and like my mods are on, like, gone. You know what I mean? Like, gone. Because there's no need for it.
I used to have not a problem with Joey, but like I disagreed with him because he was like, we got to make the game more accessible. And you know, I had that mindset like, no, fuck them. If they want to become great, they can earn it like I did. Because, you know, I'll be straight, I had to really bust my ass to become like good, because nowadays it's pretty easy to, you know, become good if with all the resources out there, and you know, great players have never been more accessible. Right. Whereas I had to, you know, chew my way through laddering and you know, building teams and failing over and over and over again. I was like, you know, they can work for it. And you know, and now a couple of years later, I'm like, okay, well, that was obviously stupid. He was completely right. That of course we should make it more welcoming. I mean, I do think that you have to draw some sort of line, because I do think people should learn on their own. And if you hold hands, then you wind up getting into that scenario where someone else is doing a lot of the work for you. I don't think that should be the case.
It's impossible to hold somebody's hand in Pokemon, though. That's the thing. Like, it's impossible.
I mean, specifically in terms of like giving them every single new, perfectly built latest tournament team. You know, I'm still a little averse to that.
Team. I think you're referring to. I'm talking about. I'm talking about entrance. So let's say you.
No. Then we obviously completely agree, because we should make it as easy and accessible for people to get into the game.
Right.
You know, and the mindset I had were just like, no, fuck them. It's not that hard. You know, learn to use IRC. You know, back then I was kind of a Puritan, and I was like, yeah, IRC's not that hard. Right. And you know, while I never had any problems with it, and you know, a couple other players who learned to use it after joining, they didn't have problems with it. Nowadays, I'm more reasonable, so I'm like, yeah, okay, I definitely see that the dependence on IRC did turn some people away, and Discord is another reason why it's so easy to get involved, because Discord is like, you don't need to download anything, you pop it into your browser, and boom, you're there.
Right. Which I don't think is bad, like, because it's given us so much.
No, it's absolutely a good thing. I had this whole, you know, hyper-competitive streak where, you know, I don't care about viewership or, you know, accessibility. Tournament finals could be played in private for all I care. You know, we're not playing for money or advertising or anything. Nowadays, I'm more relaxed. But, I think that obviously it should be made accessible for anyone.
I want to end on that point right there, right? You said back in the day. And so
exactly.
And so right now I could say, well, back in the day you were a fucking ass. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
You would not be all.
But I'm saying,
I know
but I'm saying, like,
what you're getting at.
you're not anymore. And so I think for me to, let's say I was gonna say, remember back in, that, let's say you did type that in the chat, right? And you were like, remember when he said Mens could lead with, we reversed the mono grass team with mono fire, and you guys would praise him, right? Let's say I decided to perceive that this BKC is a fucking hater, right? And so now I don't like you, right? Because of that, because that's how I chose to perceive it.
And now everything else you see with me is colored by that interaction,
right?
And it just sucks,
right? But that's not who's at fault there. That's not my problem. It's not. You never said I don't know how to. I decided to perceive it that way. That was on my own insecurity, my own. And so in the same way when
it'd
I play,
it'd be different if I was like actually going after you, saying,
even then,
he's not actually that good, guys. He's just making the basic plays.
But I had those too, but they could never beat me or even come close to. But here's the point I'm trying to make with that. Like, it's not about me. So if somebody comes, if I came in your comment section, this guy was a washed up scrub, fuck him, like and I say just everything trying to undermine you, right? In that moment, you can decide, oh, I'm gonna destroy them, I'm gonna ban them, or before you ban them. This was how I used to be, because I understand where you're coming from. I'd go in the comment and I'd rip you to shreds. Like I'd make all your point. I'd make you feel like the dumbest person on earth, and tell you why you're wrong, and then I dismiss you. And so, or I just leave it public because I want everybody else to see how wrong and dumb you are. And so that was my frame of mind 4 years ago. Now when I look at stuff like that, I'm like, oh damn, it really sucks that dude's going through that, because ultimately
I know it's the exact same thing with me, because the older I get, the more I realize, because I have a reputation for being angry and yelling all the time. And I wouldn't say I'm completely shed of that, but certainly have come a long way from constantly screaming at the slightest provocation.
Right.
If someone goes, "Oh, this team is really good," and I have to get in there, "No, this team's not fucking good. It loses to Scarf Fly God. What the fuck is your problem?"
Oh, you were that guy? Shit. Oh no.
I wasn't that bad, but I definitely was. Before I realized you can't, teach everybody, and a lot of people don't want to be taught that they are right or wrong or whatever. But yeah, the older I get, then the more I realize that animosity responded to with more animosity, it just
doesn't work.
It gets worse with everyone, and it feels really good for that 1 second to just fucking totally rip into that guy who by all means did deserve it. But after that, you're just like, was that really worth it? And I'm not saying that I'm perfect in this. Sometimes if someone's really being an asshole, then I don't think I'm above just going like, all right, you're being an asshole, so here I will show you why you are being stupid because you really asked for it. But if it can't be your first response. I think someone has to really, really earn it, because on one hand, yeah, you don't want to let people walk all over you and just be complete assholes for unchecked. But on the other hand, if so, you got to keep in mind. And I know this is really hard to think when someone's going after you personally. You got to think, man, that guy. If that guy is making these kinds of comments, he's probably not too secure, or he's probably having a rough time or whatever. And even though I don't think that's an excuse for behaving like this, I get it. I get that's why there's that factor coloring what he is, how he's behaving right now. So you got to have some sort of empathy. Of course, you have to have a line. You can't just let someone walk all over you.
But it's
that reminds me. The thing I wanted to say earlier. Yeah. Oh no, I'm forgetting it again. But it was regarding Pokemon. The other factors that you gotta take in mind when you're evaluating player skill. It's like, how many factors go into a game? Not just hacks, not just team matchup, not just player tendencies, whatnot. You can even have something as dumb as the mood that someone was in that day. Yeah. Like if someone was, this has personally happened to me. Sometimes I've been just like super angry, and I'll go in a tournament game and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck how I usually play. I'm staying in on goddamn everything. I will get up my rocks with Pharaoh on Heatran. Right. And and the other guy doesn't know what's coming, and obviously, normally that would never happen. But so that you really got to look at the long term, and so Yeah, and I've had people, who've played me. Obviously, it's not an excuse. People who have played me go, "Oh yeah, when I played you for that tournament, I was, not in a great frame of mind. I was tilted, yada yada." But so, I get it. And again, that's just the thing I wanted to mention earlier. But yeah, going back to the whole thing, you got to have empathy for people who are going out of their way to antagonize you because, well, if let's say the mean comments on Fall Swipe Gaming, because this was what I would consider just unprovoked, nastiness.
Agreed.
I don't remember the details because there were a couple of them, but a lot of them were like, okay, you were probably not raised with manners, or maybe you're some immature 12-year-old, or maybe you're just going through a real hard time and it made you feel better to rip on this guy who was on the video. So if that, I hope it helped. But it'd be different if they were coming on all my videos and just constantly pointing out little things like, you could have pursued the metagross for 7% extra on that turn, and then you would have had a higher chance to win the game, right? And just constantly. Actually, that's not a good example because that actually is helpful. But if they were just being assholes,
right? I know what you mean.
There's no reason to not frame that in a polite way. I mean, I like to cover all my bases, so I like to ramble. If you were being like really, really aggressive, like you were just constantly complaining about all the hacks against you, and then someone pointed out, I don't think you should be so quick to blame hacks when you could have played better here, and there. That's not really like, even if they're not as overly polite in their tone, then there's still, you are still kind of inviting that kind of response by being so aggressive yourself. So I mean, I know who started it is, childish and whatnot, but it does play, it's relevant, man.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it does inform the context of like let's say, I swear I'll stop after the example. Okay, so there are several players who famously love shitting on everyone who's playing on Smog Tours. Right? And they just love that. And then, they have their own games, and they're great players, so no one really gets to say shit to them because they win a lot, so it's mostly just praise for them. And then they go back to shitting on others in the Smog Tours chat. This is why I really don't like people who go humiliating others. But yeah, and then those great players, they inevitably have that one bad game in front of everyone, and then the Smog Tours chat turns on them because they will turn on anyone, and suddenly this player who themselves for months and months and months enjoys shitting on everyone else playing, then they go into the chat going, "What the fuck, you guys? Why are you shitting on me so much? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're garbage. You're garbage." Over and over and over and over, and it's like, dude, yeah. Technically, you are correct. Smog Tours is nasty and mean, but you are doing that exact same thing. And by participating in that, you are encouraged. By participating in that as a highly respected player who people look up to, when you do it, everyone else who's new thinks, okay, he's doing it. It's cool to do it. I'm gonna do it too. I want to be accepted. So. I really don't appreciate that. And the high level player thing makes it especially bad because at least if it's if it's some young kid who just wants to fit in, at least it makes sense. But if you're some tenured good player who just genuinely enjoys others' misfortune, Schadenfreude, then you can. I overly pronounce that just to make myself seem more cultured. By the way, I'm not German. So. Though, if you're really, then I really don't have any respect for that. Like, we used. Did we mention the example of Lavos earlier?
Yeah. He was
the poster child for that, and the reason I mention him is not to make the guy feel bad about himself if he ever hears this, but because not only was he shitting on people on Smog Tours and then complaining when he got it back, he was doing a lot of other stuff that was just super not okay. Like. He was in the semis of GSC and DPP Cup, and he was matched up against some inexperienced players in those tiers, or maybe just as a whole. And because sometimes that happens in individual tournaments. Pokemon, you go on a lucky streak, you're playing well, and you go far in a tournament that you're not really that well versed in. It happens all the time, and against a play, and especially if you're lucky with your opponent drawings. Like, you're probably not going to go through, several great GSC players in a row, but, if you're getting some similarly inexperienced players and you go on a good streak at the time, then it might work out for you. and then of course in the semis you might wind up against someone who you're clearly out of your depth against. Like some inexperienced GSC player is obviously never going to stand a chance against Lavos.
Right.
And or in DPP the same thing. And what Lavos was doing was he was just going out of his way to taunt and humiliate them during that game, or those games actually. It was a repeated offense. And I just thought that was awful because, here's this super respected, great player who has all the success in the world, and he can't stop himself from shitting all over these players who clearly are outmatched. It's not just enough to win. And when people confronted him about it, then he gave the response, he should have given me more of a challenge. I was listening to an audiobook while we were playing. And it's just that kind of thing that, so if someone was to be, I don't know what drove Lavos to behave like that, but if someone was aggressive to Lavos, then he was kind of inviting it with his previous actions. So that goes back to the point that, try to have empathy for your fellow Pokemon players and, try not to respond to animosity with more animosity. But at the same time, if someone is really, really asking for it, then, you got to try to find that balance. Because while you do want to be polite and, make things welcoming, I also don't believe that you should let people walk around and being assholes, without repercussion. I really, really don't like bullies. So if someone is behaving like that, then absolutely give them what they deserve. Just try not to let your personal judgment cloud it. Like if someone says this play could have been better, and you remember that guy, didn't like your team a couple of years ago, then that's probably not justification for ripping into him, calling him an asshole, as much as it might feel good in the moment. So yeah, that was a long-winded way of getting my point across, but I hope it was clear.
I'm sure the audience appreciates, especially those who've made it this far. Like again, it's refreshing, and we'll definitely do more of these as we begin to expand, because the community will be growing significantly.
We can do extended psychological tests on players in the community.
Previous players, what caused, like, that would be super funny. Like, so, I mean, you're a very good writer. I see the false flag gaming thing, so certainly when, I don't know how we go about it, but like, even if to have a place to, like, I don't know, but when the website's out, and just have like a good place for all competitive Pokemon content. False make, I don't know the guy like that, so I don't know, but we'll figure something out. I try to let things go and get created as time goes on, and so I can't say what that will look like in this moment, but in 6 months when this is out and this is like, and people are asking about this, the idea will pop up, and then boom, the time will be right. And so maybe we'll do like dun 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 like mystery, why did Blue pretend to be Star, like Pokemon documentaries.
That's the holy grail. That would be such a good movie if the whole thing didn't take place in such an unfilmable context.
Right.
It's more unfilmable than maybe you could like transpose the characters, but how do you do that when the whole thing is, girl pretended to be a guy on the internet for several years? So I'm sure it could happen, but it's late and I should probably go to sleep.
Facts. But thank you so much for joining me, man. It was
thank you
it was
for
a
having me.
it was a true blast.
I wasn't so aware that you were so well versed in the psychology of why we do what we do in Pokemon.
Oh,
I thought you were talking about
super.
like, your identity being threatened, and I was like, what the fuck? I still have a couple weeks before I go back to school. What is going on?
Nah, that's my primary mode of operations. Pokemon is secondary. So, as a reward for those who've made it this far, really, I'm tricking all of you. My goal with this channel, the academy, all of this is to help you guys develop stronger emotional resilience, so that when you do step away from this game of Pokemon, you take the principles, just like in any other discipline, jiu-jitsu, basketball, soccer, whatever. They all have lessons, chess, and you can take them from that and bring it into life. So when you come on here and you rage, you make excuses, you all that stuff, that's what I said in the article. It's not about Pokemon. You think it's a Pokemon thing, but it's not. Because if Pokemon wasn't as important as you claim it to be, then you wouldn't rage. It's not about Pokemon. That's just your mode of operation. That's just your worldview. That's just how your paradigm is. And so if you
Think
fail,
of it like the movie Whiplash, one of the greatest, then yeah, it technically is about jazz, but it's not really about jazz. It could have been about fucking, I don't know,
anything. Yeah.
traffic tickets. Yeah, that was a bad example, but it just chose to use jazz as the backdrop for its themes of obsession. And so, when someone criticizes it for not getting jazz completely right, it's like, yeah, okay, but you're missing the point. So,
Boom.
It's the exact same thing with Pokemon. It's like, yeah, this guy crit you, and that sucks, but why are you really so upset about it?
We definitely can make some videos on like, just shoot me ideas. I'm always open to. I just don't have if I have I'm gonna create the time soon. With full timing with my businesses and whatnot, so I'll have a lot more flexibility in my time. But definitely, if you have ideas of like more psychoanalysis style Pokemon, trust me.
You know what the best one is? Why people fold under pressure in Pokemon.
Dude, like, let's make it happen.
That's it. Yeah.
Let's make
All
it
right,
happen.
I'm definitely going to bed. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. And hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to BKC's channel. Phenomenal content. You can already tell he's knowledgeable. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.